I have such a funny cup with me today.
Oh, let's say it.
Says, like father, like daughter. Oh, crap.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Welcome to Let's Talk Literature. I'm Em.
And I'm Will.
And we're two book lovers who wanted to combine our passions for reading and gossiping and share it with the world.
Whether you're looking for a new book to pick up or a new book friend, you come to the right place.
So grab a coffee.
Or a little wine. And let's talk literature.
Well, so the background story to it is my dad got it for me. I forget what holiday he got this for me as a gag gift. We both have stomach diseases, IBD. So literally like father,
nice.
like daughter, oh crap. So that's my cup of the day.
Nice. Oh, that's a good pun. That's actually a very
Isn't
funny
it?
pun. How have you been?
I passed my kidney stone.
Oh, congratulations. Wait, you should have recorded a TikTok that was like when people pass the bar or like when people pass their boards and it's like the background's like, and I want your love, baby. Now I got
like,
you in
the
my
most
space.
unreal feeling ever. I feel brand new. I feel like I could walk on water, truly.
Can you please give us a little description, like just hold up how big it was?
Oh, you can't even see it. It's like sand.
Oh, no.
It's like I'm expecting something like this
No.
big to come out of me.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
No, it's tiny. It's tiny. And it happened while I was at work. So I couldn't like really spend time looking.
Or celebrate.
Yeah.
Or
well,
did you
I
celebrate?
did celebrate. I came out and I told everybody.
How'd you know if you couldn't see it? You just felt it?
You feel like a
Oh.
like a release.
Oh.
Like a little.
Was it like a really good feeling?
Oh my
like
God, yeah,
you
it was
had just
incredible.
gone pee,
It was like,
and like that after pee feeling of like, oh, I'm relieved.
it literally is exactly like if you have to pee so bad and you're like, you got 20 more minutes of a car ride and you have to pee bad, like you're holding it for dear life, and then you finally go. It's like that.
That I'm happy that you got to experience the positive side of
The
that
joy.
because you were suffering.
I was absolutely going through it. So yeah,
No one deserves
kidney
that.
stone gone. Happy with that.
Out.
It's
Out.
almost Memorial Day weekend. It is when this comes out, and I'm going to be working too much. I'll be busy, but I'll be making good money down the shore. So busy week
Love
ahead
that.
of me. So I'm just relaxing for the next 2 days.
As you should.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it
As you
going
should.
on for me. What about you? You have some fun news to share?
I do have some fun news and then not so fun news. So the fun news is that last episode I was talking about my apartment search and how I was heartbroken, went through the 7 stages of grief.
Yes.
Then I scheduled like 12 more after. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, she, he, theys, I have found an apartment.
Yay.
And it's more than an apartment. It's like a condo.
It literally is gorgeous.
It's so amazing. I cannot wait. It's in the location that we want to be in. And I'm just so excited. It's just a relief.
I'm so excited
Honestly,
for you.
just like literally just as relieving as passing a kidney stone. Like
Yes.
just truly a relief. But I'm not even kidding. The day that I signed my lease, got accepted and all that, was the same day that my manager told me he was leaving the company that I just joined. And I joined this company to work for this.
Like
this
he was a
manager.
deciding factor in taking this job.
Yeah. Kind of recruited me and was like, yeah, like I really want you to work under me. We're gonna like, you have nothing to worry about. I'm going nowhere.
Can he take you
Change
with
of
him?
direction. Almost like a plot twist in a thriller.
Yeah.
Just gone. I wish he could take me with him. He is one of the good ones.
Oh, this is so depressing.
Liberal king. Yeah, we had good talks for the short time I've been at the company, and now I'm upset and I'm having a bit of a crisis.
I would too. Understandably so.
So yeah, that's what's been happening with me. I have finally gotten out of my reading slump as well, which is great.
It's fantastic.
Finally back in the groove with reading, and I think this book did help me with that, but that's not for me to say that like, you know what, we'll get into it. Let's get into the episode today. I think that's a good segue in there. I don't want to say anything yet, but we're talking about Great Big Beautiful Life by Miss Emily Henry.
How do you feel about this cover?
I actually like it.
I don't like it.
I like it. I think it's clean. I think it's clean looking.
It is.
I'm also anti-cartoon covers, but it's a different take on a cartoon cover.
It is.
I don't know.
I like the cover that is on, like, if you're on Fable, the cover that they show you there, it's like a sunset.
Ooh, yeah.
I like that better.
Yeah.
I think I really liked this one until I saw that one.
That's fair. I mean, it does give sunset.
It does.
And also, it's a mosaic.
So,
which is very fitting for the story.
It does make sense.
I just don't think the pictures really depict the characters, in my opinion.
No, they look funky.
But yeah, let's get into this. I pulled Goodreads summary like I always do for each episode, and it's a pretty long one. 2 writers compete for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping new novel from Emily Henry. Alice Scott is an eternal optimist still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud. Whoa. Thundercloud.
Damn.
All right. That's Goodreads for you. They'll really just throw in any words.
That's on here.
Oh, wow. Oh, that was Miss Emily Henry.
That was Miss Henry.
Who did that one.
Interesting.
Miss Henry. And they're both on balmy Little Crescent Island for the same reason. To write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years. Or at least to meet the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives. Guys, bear with me. I'm trying.
That's okay.
Here.
Never heard that word used.
No. Tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. When Margaret invites them both for a 1-month trial period, after which she'll choose the person who will tell her story, there are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1. Alice genuinely likes people, which means people usually like Alice, and she has a whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2. She's ready for this job and the chances to impress her perennially unimpressed family with a serious publication. 3. Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken-to-the-core way that suggests he sees her as competition. But the problem is, Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale Margaret's spinning, could be a mystery, tragedy, or love ballad, depending on who's telling it. Wow, I'm out of breath.
That was wordy.
I was not expecting. That was wordy. Very, very wordy.
That's a good summary, though.
Yeah, I don't think we have to dive too much into the plot there because that was pretty extensive. I think what we should do first is really dive into each of the characters in this story. I say we dive into the 3 main ones.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Because this story is told from Alice's point of view, and then also interspersed are the interviews / excerpts that Alice writes about Margaret.
Yes, I'd like that a lot. That sounds good to me.
So from this point forward, if you have not read the book and you don't care about spoilers, keep going. But if you don't want the book spoiled for you, stop right here, go finish the book, come back, and resume right at this moment. Because spoilers are ahead.
All right, you've been warned. Let's start. All right, we can begin with our main character, Alice. She is described very happy-go-lucky, very optimistic. As the explanation says, she likes almost everyone, and everyone pretty much likes her. So going into the story with that kind of character, I don't know how you felt. I don't love a super optimistic protagonist. I don't know if maybe it's because I don't know if I'm like would consider myself to be super optimistic or not, but I feel like I am. But I don't really love reading from their perspectives. I just find it kind of boring a lot of the times. And I know that usually the character is using that optimism to hide some sort of insecurity, and we learn about Alice's insecurity with impressing her family, and her father passed away, and her relationship with her mom is kind of rocky, so that's why it's there. But I personally didn't love having her as the main character, being like happy sunshine narrative. What did you think?
I agree. I think when I pick up a book, I'd like to read from the perspective of a character that is new but also has traces of my own personality in them, so that I have something to connect with. Like Em said, I would not call myself an optimist. I would actually say I veer more towards the pessimist in the grand scheme of things. I just thought at first her demeanor was a bit hokey.
Me
It's
too.
like a bit. It never got to the point where it was cringe. Like, I didn't get a cringy feeling from her, but like almost disingenuine. Because if you're happy-go-lucky, always making friends with people, always liking other people, and just she seemed like the random person that would like be waiting in line for something and sparks conversation with the random people around her that like want nothing to do with her and want to just go on about their day.
Yeah.
And like I feel like she always just needs to fill some type of silence, some type of space with words, and cannot really just let things sit. So that reading from that, I can completely agree that it was not annoying, but just like, I don't know. It wasn't my most enjoyable read coming from a person with that kind of personality, I guess you could say.
Before you go on, I do want to say that reminds me of the Taylor Swift lyrics, "A friend to all is a friend to none." And that's just
Very
kind
true.
of, I don't know if she gave the vibe that she was like untrustworthy or anything, or like a bad person. She doesn't seem like that at all. It's just like she seems like a friend to all and a friend to none. Like I think the way Emily Henry wrote her was really well done for what she was going for. It's just not my favorite, I guess.
Yeah. I did like, though, how she had a competitive edge. Like, even though she had that very happy, optimistic outlook, and usually people pleaser would just kind of succumb to whoever the competition is and be like, oh, like, have it your way, you know? She really stood her ground because she was passionate, and I loved how passionate she was about what she was doing. But that was also driven by her wanting to prove her family wrong and that she could be successful. So, like you said, she was very well-rounded, a very well-written character.
Hayden, how did you feel about him?
At first, you're supposed to feel like he's an asshole, which he was. He was very reserved, very closed off. You learn why he is that way. He has some secrets that are revealed, and then those secrets just keep coming out further along in the story outside of him, which we'll get into later and how I feel about that. My gripe with Hayden is not with him himself, it's how he was written. I felt like the turn in character for him, from really just being pushed, like very standoffish, very much like, I'm doing my own thing, don't bother me, this is separate, we're two separate people doing separate things, to then turn into the character he became, which was like so loving and accepting. And I felt like it was warranted, and the backing and backstory of that is there. I think it just happened way too quick.
I agree.
I didn't really believe that shift at all in his character.
No, I agree. I feel like it went like one chapter he was like, we can't like be together because what are you going to do when I win? Like he was kind of being egotistical and like kind of an asshole. And then a chapter later it was like it's yours.
I love you.
Like you're going to win. I don't know about our main character, but I feel like for me that would have been like a turn off. Like I would have been like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like that was part of the allure, like the competition.
And I completely agree. Like I feel like he just kind of gave in very quickly. And it's understandable because of what you find out about his family and where he comes from and like his motivations behind that. And just like finally he has someone who is just open and truthful and accepting of him and all of this. But to just succumb to that as quickly as he did, I didn't believe it. I didn't really believe it.
I think the main thing with both of them, Alice and Hayden, is like it was fine. Like I can believe it. It just wasn't that like intriguing to me. Yeah,
because the romance that did come about between them was very no, there wasn't much to it. Like,
no, I was nervous what you would say. Me and Will haven't talked about our thoughts at all. Like, this is
no, this is the first time,
which we normally don't do. Like, we usually know how the other feels, but this time we're going in completely not knowing. But I personally felt like the chemistry was growing and growing, and then it just kind of like stopped, and I didn't care anymore.
Yeah, it did get stale. I thought the story itself got a little stale, but I think the romance part and then the Margaret part of the stories had staleness in different parts. So like the other kind of made up for the one being stale.
I see.
But I'll explain why overall I don't think the structure really worked too well, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
All right, let's go into Margaret.
Yeah. Margaret, at first I was like, this is Meryl Streep. Like, this is literally Meryl Streep. As we went on, I really don't think her backstory made her out to be as like the secretive nature behind her and like what you were supposed, the intrigue. The intrigue was more powerful than the actual, who she actually was. Yeah. And I think that that's probably for a reason, because you see celebrity culture and like fan culture around celebrities, and they just make up these narratives about people that they adore. So I could see that being the reason why it kind of like fell flat for me. But at the same time, the whole shift in tone of this story completely threw me off at the end of the book. And that's where like Margaret's big reveal kind of came in, of like her character and why she is the way that she is and why she ran and has been so secretive and has been basically in hiding.
Yeah.
But at first I was loving Margaret. I really was. I was intrigued. But then as we went on, I just kind of felt more disinterested as the pages went on.
Now, it's interesting you say that, because I went the opposite way. Like, I was more interested in Alice and Hayden's story until about like halfway, I guess. And I was like kind of interested in Margaret, but not super interested. And then I started to like really get into the Margaret chapters and like really didn't care about Alice and Hayden like at all. Like, I wanted to skip those chapters to get to more about Margaret. Like, I was really intrigued.
Really?
But I will say I don't feel satisfied with the way it turned out. But I was intrigued about Margaret, like, for most of the time. Like, I found that part more interesting, and like I wanted to keep reading to get to her parts rather than the other chapters, which is interesting because you felt the other way.
My whole journey with Margaret's storyline and just the whole structure of these excerpts of the story that Margaret was telling, it needed to be edited down. Like, the beginning of just her whole past with her grandparents and her whole lineage did not need to be as long as it was.
Agreed.
It just really just dragged on.
Agreed.
It really dragged on. I did not really care about Margaret's backstory until the end of the book.
Yeah.
And even then, that was just because it was like popcorn reading. I was like, oh, this is turning into a mystery. This is turning into like some type of investigative thriller in a way. Like, I don't really know how to like describe how the book turned out in the end. It just tonally shifted completely from what we were doing the entire book, I felt.
It did feel like multiple different books.
It did. It felt like 3 books in one, truly. I found myself, though, you trying to get to Margaret's parts, I found myself skimming her parts because I just felt like they weren't really that important to the story. And there was important parts to it to like make sense of the ending. But overall, I just think that like the way that it was structured was not really necessary. And I think it was 3 different types of books and 3 different types of genres put into one story that each of the 3 weren't fleshed out. In the end, I just kind of felt like disappointed in the whole story as a whole because I felt like it wrapped up like a Hallmark movie. Like, it felt very
soapy,
cheap.
Like,
yeah, like very soap opera-y, very Hallmark-esque. I don't know. I felt very disappointed by the end. And I think we can jump into now our reactions of the book. Just kind of things that really stood out to us. And the biggest thing to me was that this felt like a romance. This felt like a contemporary fiction. And then it also felt like a mystery. Yeah. Like, it was just a random mystery element to it. I really don't understand it.
We're the first 2 to be like, we love genre jumping. Like I love
Yes,
like when
yes,
authors do that, like
yes.
God of the Woods. Like Liz Moore's so good at that.
Yes.
This just felt like two completely different writing styles that didn't work together. Like at all. Like it felt like cheesy romance a little bit mixed with like
Yep.
a very bland mystery. And I
Yes.
think that both stories could have been good, really good on their own. Like I just don't think it worked. Like she tried something new and I like that, and I'm like happy that she tried it because it was interesting. I don't dislike the book. It didn't work for me, at least. I think it was
Completely
it didn't
agree.
flow properly. Like the format of it just didn't work.
No, because you would be in one part of the story and then it just is completely interrupted by going off into Margaret's part. Like I don't know what I was supposed to get out of it in the end because everything just kind of wrapped up in a nice bow. Like there was no intrigue for a book that was all built off of intrigue. You weren't left with any intrigue by the end, and I felt like that was a bit flat for me.
It definitely fell flat.
I don't know.
I felt like this book could have been so interesting if I just thought of this. If it was like almost a historical fiction, like I feel like this was really trying to do a Taylor Jenkins Reid kind of thing. Like it was really, really trying to be like Evelyn Hugo, which I respect because I wish I could write something like that too. But I think this could have been done so much better if we had like Margaret telling her story herself from the past, like, or like somebody in the Ives family. That's one perspective, and then the other perspective, I'd prefer Hayden, and then you figure out how the two stories connect, you know?
That would have been really interesting if it was from I actually agree if it was from Hayden's perspective, because the whole reveal in the end is that he is Margaret's grandson.
Yeah, and I was like,
and like
okay.
that whole reveal was, I didn't like it
and
either.
I felt
Like
bad
I could
for
see
Alice
the connections,
and she just like gets over it, kind of like she's not like that mad, but I'd be like so pissed. Like, you brought me out here. This is the job of a lifetime for my career, and it was just for you to like settle your family problems. I'd be pissed.
And like, I guess that's, you can look at it from a different way and be like, okay, maybe Emily Henry's looking into how, you know, Margaret, who is someone who's very successful and who has had fame and fortune, just misuses her people and just misuses her her privilege, which I don't know if that was what she was going for, but I feel like that you could take that from it. Once you got to like the reveal chapter, it was 0 to 100. It was like, whoa.
Absolutely,
like,
was. The pacing
reveal
was
after
off.
reveal after reveal. It was a very, because she took her time building everything up in the beginning.
Like thing.
Yeah.
I was like okay. It just, I
don't
know.
You didn't even spend too much time on that in the beginning.
So like, I don't
And then
care.
now he's an integral part to this, and whatever.
I don't know.
Whatever.
It just felt like she was trying to mix too many like almost suspense, investigative thriller things with like a romance, and it just clashed. That's the word I'm looking for. The book clashed.
It's clashing. Yeah.
The book absolutely
completely
clashed.
agree.
Do you want to go into like reading some reviews from the book club, because I feel like a lot of people agree with us, and I found some interesting ones. We have like 20 reviews on here already. So if you're a part of this club, go read them because it's very, very interesting.
Also, thank you for your participation.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is the best participation we've gotten yet.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining, and we can't wait for the next book club too, so be sure to be on the lookout for info on that. But let's get into some of your reviews.
All right, so the first one we have is from Gail, who is a friend of Will and I's, and I think she feels pretty much the same as us. She gave this a 3 out of 5. Her review says, I really wanted to love this book, but of the 3 Emily Henry books I've read, this is my least favorite. Personally, the main characters, Alice and Hayden, and their love story fell flat for me. I didn't find either character compelling, and their romantic chemistry was weak into the last quarter of the book. I appreciate Henry stepping out of her comfort zone to do something new, but I don't think this format worked well for her writing style. The chapters that were meant to be Alice writing Margaret's story didn't have a change in voice, which made it hard for me to find them believable for a nonfiction style book. I did like the story overall, but I just wanted a lot more from it. Period.
Snaps all around.
Period,
Literally,
Gail,
we
that's
just.
how I felt.
Oh, completely agree.
The next one we have is a 5-star review. This says, "Great big beautiful life wrecked me in a way I didn't expect. Not all at once, but in slow, quiet waves that pulled me under before I even realized it. It's a book about grief, yes, and longing and loneliness so loud it echoes in your bones. But more than that, it's about how we keep going, how we choose to stay even when staying hurts. This story burrows into the ache of being misunderstood, especially by the people who raised you, who love you in the only ways they know how, which often isn't enough. It's about how families fracture without ever meaning to, about what it means to want more from life but not knowing how to ask for it or if you're even allowed to. Emily Henry doesn't just write romance, she writes life, cracked open and bleeding and still somehow soft around the edges. Her figurative language is on another level. She'll write a line like, "We're standing chest to chest, the dark humming around us like we're two tuning forks vibrating in resonance, and you'll feel your whole body stop, like she just said something you felt your entire life but never had the words for." There's no one else doing what she's doing in this genre. Her metaphors are so specific, they feel universal. Her characters feel real in a way that you see yourself in them, even when you don't want to. Her dialogue is witty without ever sacrificing the truth, and her ability to hold grief and hope in the same sentence, to let them coexist without one erasing the other, is something I don't think gets talked about enough. So no, this isn't just another silly little romance book. If that's what you think they are, then I don't think we've been reading the same Emily Henry. I love this book, and I love Emily Henry. 5 out of 5. Dang.
What a review.
I think that her writing is better than the book. That was
remarkable.
And you know what? I agree with everything she said. Everything.
Yes,
I think she is absolutely right. I just think that I took different things from it. I said about what book was Book Lovers. I feel like Emily Henry, a lot of times the way she writes cracks your brain open and puts things into words that you've never put into words, and I think that she is so good at that. I just think that this book combined with like the multiple genre aspects didn't do it for me, but I really love that review. That was beautiful.
There were pockets of this book where I was like, wow, I really enjoy how she described, like, I love the setting of this book. The setting of this book was great. I think she did a good job of having that as a backdrop to this story. There was also moments between Hayden and Alice that I really loved, and that
absolutely
it did give me butterflies, and I was like, oh, I don't really read romance. Like, I rarely do.
Exactly. For two people who don't read romance, like, this did good.
Yeah, it did good. I did not feel cringe. Like, it did not feel cringy. It just felt underdeveloped. That's
exactly.
my gripe. I'm
so glad I read that one, because I think that brought out like the good that we liked in it.
Oh, completely.
Because we just spent the whole 35 minutes of this talking about like what didn't work.
Yeah.
So that was a very good way of saying like, here's what did work. It just wasn't balanced enough with what didn't.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Wow. That was very eye-opening.
Gorgeous.
Thank you for your review. That was great.
Thank you. All right, this last one is a little long too. This is a 2-star review, so I'm very curious to see what they say. This is from Andrea, however you pronounce. I wish I liked this book, but sadly, here we are. I appreciate what Henry tried to do with this book, but I think it may have been a bit out of her reach. I've read all of Emily's previous books, and although I can't say they were my favorite romance books, I did enjoy them a lot. This book just lacked everything. From the beginning, I got major Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo vibes, and not simply, oh, this is inspired by the book vibes, but oh, this sounds almost exactly the same as this book vibes, which I hated, but I was willing to give it a try either way, since I do usually like interviews in fiction books. Even this aspect of the book felt off for some reason. I also simply could not care less about Margaret and her story. Yes, it was full of gossip and twists, but I could not connect with her or her story at all. I was also not a fan of the romance, which sucks because, as I said earlier, I have previously loved Emily's romance work. I was expecting more, and maybe that was my fault going into this book, but I felt as if it was flat and so rushed. I wanted more of the competition relationship between them, more banter, more heated arguments. Instead, we got maybe 1/4 of the book of Hayden not wanting any connection with Alice to after one conversation he is in love with her. That's exactly what we just talked about.
Yep, we said
I was
that,
so excited for her grumpy sunshine. And don't get me started on Alice. Yes, she is supposed to be witty, charming, and very optimistic, but damn was she annoying as hell. I kept finding myself physically rolling my eyes every time she talked. Hayden was alright, I guess. I felt he was a very flat male main character, but there was so much more potential there.
Wow, again, another great review.
That is another fantastic review.
Thank you. Thank you for submitting reviews, guys.
These
awesome.
are fantastic. Like, these reviews are absolutely unreal.
Well, Andrea, I completely agree with your take on Margaret. I could not care less about her storyline, and I kept texting M throughout, and I was like, I don't care. I'm not connecting with this storyline at all, and I started to skim. I did start to skim.
It's understandable. I don't know what did it for me, what made me like interested in it. I think the hope of it all.
Maybe, but I thought that there was too many characters. Like
there were.
It
was
a
lot
to
keep.
You had to. I wish she put like a family tree in the beginning of the book.
Yes, me too.
That
because when I was reading like the first like half of the book, I would forget everyone. Who's Nina? Who is Ruth? Like I was like, who are these people? I forget every single time.
Yep, completely agree.
So,
I completely agree with that.
That's all the reviews I have today, or else we'll be here all day because these reviews are stunning.
Amazing.
You guys write magnificently.
Love it.
Holy
love
shit!
Love it.
It's time for our rating reveals. Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready. I think I don't know if I'm gonna change my review or my rating after hearing everyone else's.
Really?
But I think I'm gonna stick with what I have. Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna stick with what I have.
Okay, so am I. I wasn't sure, but so am I. I have like a little paragraph that I wrote, so I'm gonna read that too when I give you my rating.
Okay. Yeah, I have a list of takeaways, and then I'll give you my review.
Do you want to go first?
Ooh, okay. Okay. So, my takeaways from this book. I enjoyed my time with this and did have a good time reading it, but it was really surface level in my opinion. No direction was really fleshed out fully, just a bunch of ideas with an attempt to piece them together. The twist was unexpected, sure, but added no real depth to who we were interacting with the whole book. Everything kind of ended up very Hallmarky at the end, which I think was being avoided at the beginning of the book. So the fact that it turned into a Hallmark-esque movie book feeling was not my cup of tea. The structure was a bit jumbled, and Alice's pieces about Margaret interspersed throughout really interrupted the flow of the story. I love the setting, and I did love moments in this, but it's not something I would go out of my way to recommend, even though it kept me reading. My rating for this book is 3.25 out of 5 stars. I would not particularly go out of my way to recommend this book, but I would not stray you away from it if you decided to pick it up.
Gorgeous. That's a very nice review.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Mine's a little short. Here's what I have written down. Not my favorite book, but I did enjoy it. For me, the big spark was missing from the writing. I have so many tabbed lines and quotes that I absolutely adored and resonated with, but the story as a whole fell a bit flat. The romance was decent, but nothing I'll really think about after I finished the book. My favorite parts were Margaret's stories and the slow unveiling of her truth, but even that fell a bit flat for me. Not a bad book, just not one I'll really think back on. 3.5 stars.
Ooh, okay. We're on the same page.
We're on the same
page. There.
And it's funny because we have like a little bit of different opinions, but we still land it in the same spot.
Yeah, because I feel like what you liked about the book and what I liked about the book, the other side of it was lacking for us. So I feel like just being in that middle ground of like, okay, this rating falls between me respecting a book that I think other people really enjoy while also being like an emotional response book. I didn't really get an emotional response out of this book at all. There were parts where I was like, ooh, this is cute. I really like this. But nothing past that. So I can't give it the full 3.5. So I gave it the 3.25.
Gorgeous. All right, let's jump into our rapid fire questions for each other.
Yes. Good way to wrap up the episode for sure.
It is. All right, my first question for you is, this being your first Emily Henry book, are you eager to pick up another one?
Yes. And my
Okay.
reasoning is people have said that this book, and I've seen a lot of reviews for this book, I've seen a lot of reactions, that this is not her best work. And I want to give her a fair chance and try again. So, in the comments, please let me know which Emily Henry book I should read, because right now the front runner is Funny Story. So, if I shouldn't read Funny Story, then tell me what else I should read,
Alright.
because I am interested. It won't be for a little bit. I need a little break, but I definitely will in the future.
Gorgeous.
So kind of on the same lines of what you just asked me, where does this book rank in all of the Emily Henry books that you've read?
So the only ones I've read are Book Lovers, Happy Place, and this is the third one. I think this comes in third place.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I loved Book Lovers. Happy Place, I think I would love it more if I read it at the right time. I don't think I read it at like the best time. I think it's for like a very specific experience or mindset, but it was good. This one, I think just there were parts that weren't good, so I'm gonna have to put this at third.
I feel you.
My next question for you is, being somebody who loves memoirs, let me start over.
Being somebody who loves men.
Being somebody who loves men.
You gay, Bo.
Being gay. Being someone who loves celebrity memoirs, what did you think worked about Margaret's part of the story and what didn't work?
Ooh, I like that question because I do love celebrity memoirs.
You do?
What I liked, I really liked how they contrasted her point of view of events with what the public perception was of her, and how she really had to like explain why public perception is just so out of pocket sometimes, and like it really just gave you more of an insight onto how celebrities are just regular people who have attention on them, you know, and they're just dealing with that part of being a celebrity. So I feel like her dive into telling her own story and how that contrasted with the public perception was probably my favorite part of it. My least favorite part was that I felt like even after hearing her side of the story, I still feel like I don't know Margaret at all.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I got anything out of her telling her story. I got more out of how she connects to Hayden, and that was her whole point of doing this book thing, which was the reveal. But I still don't really know Margaret at all, so I didn't like that aspect.
Very understandable.
Do you feel as though authors should be putting out consistent work at the expense of quality, or would spending more time narrowing down their craft allow too much time in between projects that would ultimately make their work irrelevant?
What a good question. I am all for quality over quantity. And I think a great example of that is Miss Suzanne Collins. She takes her good old time, and it pays off. She has a loyal following. She has many, many followers who will absolutely buy anything she writes.
Yep.
I also think you could compare Madeline Miller. She doesn't write a whole lot, but she has very loyal fans. So I definitely think I value an author who really takes their time over trying to like hit deadlines.
Gotcha. Now, a little follow-up to that. You have authors like Emily Henry has been putting out a lot of books lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is another book. She had just put out Funny Story last year, I believe. And I believe she's putting out another book within the next year or so.
Yeah.
You also have Frida McFadden, who puts out 3 books a year at this point.
God, a lot.
Do you see a decrease in quality in their work from their earlier stuff to now?
I don't know if I see a decrease, because I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question to, because I don't know if I'm qualified enough and have read enough to answer that. I haven't read Emily Henry's earliest. I haven't read People We Meet on Vacation or Beach Read. I haven't read either of those. So I think I could answer that after I read them and then get back to you on that one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, my last question for you is, say you were hired as the editor of this book. You are Emily Henry's editor, and she gives you this exact copy as her first draft. What is your biggest recommendation to change?
Get rid of Margaret's family backstory and just let the romance build in the beginning, and you just kind of got rid of the intrigue of Margaret because you made her side of the story boring. And I think you needed to structure your story differently, and how that would be, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But you really just cut into good parts of the book. You disrupted the flow. I would really just focus on the structure of the story, because I think there is something good here. It just wasn't well executed, in my opinion.
Gorgeous. I couldn't agree more. I think she's trying to do too much.
Do you feel that the book space has become oversaturated and the pursuit of original ideas is becoming less frequent?
I want to say yes, because I've been seeing so many people talk about authors are now using AI to write their books.
No.
I don't think, okay, I don't want to say it's oversaturated. This is not an easy question. I don't think it's oversaturated, because I think that there's millions and millions of stories to write, and I think that there's always going to be more to write. I think it's oversaturated with the same things.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with
think
that.
we're getting a lot of copy and paste. Yeah.
Do you think there's like a limit to what one can write about, like in premise? Like, for example, take like a YA dystopian novel, right? It's all about rebellion. It's all about, trying to overcome oppression and things of that nature. And then you can look at another genre of romance, and how a lot of things are trope driven.
Yeah.
Do you think that like people see an in to write in these areas because it's like, I could easily tack onto an enemies to lovers trope?
Absolutely. Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
that in itself becomes oversaturated.
I guess like the lack of marketing for books, and I don't know if I want to call it the lack of marketing, but I guess the reliance on tropes is kind of muddling down stories.
I feel that.
To like the bones, I guess. And I feel like if Hunger Games came out now, people would be calling it enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
That's
true.
Which is like an insane way to look at it. Like an insane, like they'd be calling it like rivals to lovers. Like it would be like, that's not at all what we're focusing on.
No.
But I feel like it kind of, like a lot of authors are hoping to fit their stories into these neatly placed boxes in order to market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a really fun question.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess, that makes sense, because it's easier to market your book if it has a trope with it, because people easily pick those things up, like, I really do love a friends to lovers trope here. I love the miscommunication trope here. Like, so it is a way for your book to get exposure.
It's quick. It's easy to relate to. It's easy to find your audience. It just also takes away a lot.
But as someone who wants to write their own book, I feel as though I would hate to, don't take this with a grain of salt, but dumb down my work to just fit that box.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would like people to know that like there is more to this story than it being two characters falling in love who were once enemies, Yep.
Absolutely.
So I think it's interesting, like, do authors these days like sacrifice their own craft and their own artistic vision in order to just fit into a mold, in order for it to get exposure, and then once they get that exposure, then they can really shine and
I think
write
that
what
could
they
be
want?
an error. I don't know this, but I think that could definitely be an error on the publishing industry's part, because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, because it's what's hot.
It sells.
Money is always the driving force of everything.
All right, well, there it is.
Well, what a way to end an episode. Wow.
That was a really good time.
I had such a good time.
I meant like we did it quick, but that too. That was really a good time.
That was such a good time, guys. Like, thank you for being here, and thank you for, spending your Friday with us. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who participated in the book club for this month. This is the most participation we've had thus far. So if you want others to join in on the fun, be sure to recommend our book club to other people, because every time you recommend someone to our book club, you get a $5 credit on Fable, which is so cool. So you can rack up some money on there and get a nice little bookie for yourself, or the next book club book, which we will be deciding in the coming weeks for June. So be on the lookout for a little poll in Fable over there.
And if you did enjoy today's episode, be sure to leave us a rating, a review, comment, and let us know what you thought, what we could improve on. Or maybe you just thought we're so funny and this was really good and you just want to tell us how good this was. That's fine too. We would accept anything, like whatever. Seriously.
Definitely do that.
But really, thank you, and please leave a 5-star review if you liked it, because it helps us get noticed by other people, other listeners. We are releasing episodes every single week on Fridays on YouTube and Spotify.
And also, to add on to that, we are also on Instagram, TikTok, and like Em said, on YouTube. We are putting out so much content over there, and we did just hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for that. That is amazing. But yeah, be sure to follow us on those platforms. We are putting out great content over there.
Be sure to have your notifications on for Fable for the time being, so that you get notified when we're picking the next book. And that's all my spiel for today. That is everything. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week on Friday for another episode of
Let's Talk Literature. Bye.